And we're back, and I can actually say we are back for the first time ever. Today's guest is no stranger to the podcast. I believe she was on episode 19 by memory. But yeah, as I always say before we start every episode, please remember to, subscribe, like, share, comment, all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I really need to reintroduce today's guest because, as I said, you've popped up in the past before. Obviously, the last time we spoke was as you were getting ready for a world title fight, probably, if not the toughest, but one of the toughest fights in your career, I would say. Yeah, I mean, since then, that was sometime last year. So obviously a bit of time's passed right now. Last time I had you in the studio. This time you're calling through from New Mexico. But yeah, I just wanted to welcome you back. And obviously I'm talking about Arlene Angerfist, which I still don't quite understand where the name comes from because, as I say, every time I talk to you, you've never been angry at all. Blencowe, but it's an absolute pleasure to have you back. How have you been? And also, yeah, what's been happening since the last time we chat?
Thanks for having me on. Like you said, I'm here in New Mexico, America. I'm training at Jacksons Wink at the moment in preparation for my next fight. So, yeah, this will be my first fight back in the Bellator cage since my title fight with Cris Cyborg last year. So, super keen to get back in there. And I actually just got the exciting news with the official contract that I've signed and sent back off. So, an announcement will be made very, very soon.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, let's go back to the fight. Obviously, I don't want to dig up, old wounds or anything like that. But obviously, that was a massive fight, not just for yourself, but I guess, for Australia in general. As I said, it was a world title fight. It was on one of the biggest stages in the world. Obviously, it didn't pan out your way. But yeah, how was the experience leading into that fight?
I had an awesome fight camp. Preparation was great. It was a very, very long fight camp. I found out I was fighting Cris the beginning of last year, and then obviously COVID happened. So yeah, I had a good amount of time to prepare for her. I'd been preparing for the fight with Cris my whole career. So for it to actually be sort of happening was great. Like I said, I had a really good fight camp, trained hard. Popped around different gyms, did the bulk of my training down at Freestyle MMA in Wollongong. So those boys pushed me hard. Like I said in other interviews leading up to my fight, you can't get much of a better training partner than the UFC male featherweight champion of the world. So Alex and his team were great training partners and coaches for me leading up to it. We went into the fight, obviously, super fit, mentally prepared, and I enjoyed the whole process. Obviously, like you said, the result didn't go my way, but I took a lot from that fight. I started my sessions back up this morning with my sports psychologist, who is actually here based in Albuquerque, and we had to recap on some of the things from the fight. And one of the biggest things that I noticed was that my mental state was in a really, really good place compared to other fights. So a lot of positives coming from the fight. Obviously, it was, the biggest fight of my career, biggest paycheck of my career. Heaps of positives to take from it. So, I'm not going to dwell on the fact that I lost.
No, without a doubt. And I mean, they always talk about, with fights like that, you as the common saying is you either win or you learn. What are some of the lessons that, because I know shortly after you made a post as well, I forgot what the words were entirely, but it was something about that 2020 became the year of mentality. You really, I guess, posted something about obviously mindset and mentality, but what are some of the things that I guess you really took out of that fight?
One of the biggest things we focused on for that fight was, I'd fought for the Bellator world title before, back in 2017, and that was actually the last time I'd lost a fight. So, one of the biggest things that I noticed was that my mental state was in a really, really good place compared to other fights. So, a lot of positives coming from the fight. Like I said, the biggest fight of my career, biggest paycheck of my career. Heaps of positives to take from it. So, I'm not going to dwell on the fact that I lost. I really wanted to work on how I dealt with that loss. Obviously, a lot of good came from it because I bounced straight back with 3 consecutive wins, and put me straight back into that title contention again with Cris. But just realizing that with a fight as big as the world title fight, and with that fight with Cris, there I think I was knocking off 4 career goals, and that was obviously to fight Cris Cyborg. Winning the Bellator world title would mean that I was a dual world champion in both boxing and MMA. Fighting for the biggest paycheck of my career. What was the other? There was another goal, and I'm probably really bad that I've forgotten it now. But it was a big fight, and instead of focusing on the fact that the end goals here with all of those things for me to achieve, we broke it down into step by step goals. So session by session, day by day, week by week, and the main focus was enjoying it. I was the first Australian to fight Cris Cyborg for the Bellator world title. I was doing, in the middle of a pandemic, I was lucky to get overseas and fight. And it was a career and life-changing fight, and there was many things to take from it. So I just really wanted to make sure that I enjoyed the whole process. I didn't put the pressure on myself, and, there's things I could definitely have done better, and obviously to bring home the win. But your mindset with anything is like anything in life, and it's stuff that I'm still continuing on with now is how you approach any situation mentally will determine on how much you can get out of it and enjoy it too. So I'm still not dwelling on the fact that I lost. Obviously, like I said, I was wanting to win that fight, and I trained super hard to win it, but there's plenty of things moving forward for me.
And I guess, look, with any fight, not even just that fight in particular, like you're always going to want to win, right? And we live in this world especially with the sport, where 50% of the time you're gonna win those, and then 50% of the time, it's always a 50-50. There's 2 of you in there, one's going to lose, one's going to win.
100%. Yep.
And look, watching that fight, I'm just trying to recall it. I should have probably watched it once again before jumping on, but like. I remember you talking last time we spoke about, taking a lot from the Amanda Nunes fight. And I felt like you really implemented that well, like just from an onlooker where you were talking about obviously that forward pressure. And I felt like at the very beginning of that fight, you took the center of the cage, you really came forward, and I felt like you were doing really well. But I guess she hit you with one clean shot, and it made you kind of back up for a second, and it was once you backed up, obviously it opened up the doors for her. But I mean, going back to what we spoke about before, you were exactly right that maybe that is the blueprint of actually beating Cris is putting her on the back foot, because as I say, that first part of it, you actually looked really, really good.
Yeah, I feel like going into that fight, and obviously after speaking with her, and messages that she sent, and her coaches talking to my coaches, and that she had a lot of respect for me and my hands, and we had a game plan going into the fight. Like there's watching it from an outsider, it probably doesn't look like it, but we were trying to take her into the deeper rounds. I know that my fitness and not that I'm a late starter, but I finished strong. So I knew I had the fitness to finish like 5 rounds and finish strong. So I knew that in that first round, especially when she first got me to the ground in the first round, she was like, I knew I wasn't in danger. I'd done a lot of work in my fight camp, a lot of cage rounds. And I know that Joe down at Freestyle would have been super happy with how I got back up on that cage, because it was all the technique that we practiced. But I wasn't in danger, but I could hear her breathing, and I knew that she was putting a lot into it. And I thought, if she keeps this up for 1 or 2, like you can just see that she slowly deteriorates. But unfortunately in the second round, when I was sort of ready to I had a bit of a feel out for that first round, see what sort of power she was throwing, what she was sort of trying to bring to the fight. And in the second round, I came back out and I was like, okay. And I remember standing there looking across the cage at after the minute break, and so I don't even know if I actually shook my head, but in my head I was like, okay, like time to get to work now. And unfortunately, I got tagged with a left hook, And for the first time, and I only said this to my sports psychologist this morning, for the first time in over 70 fights, I showed weakness to my opponent. Usually I've got a really, really good poker face. I've been hit a lot of times, and I've lost vision in eyes. I've been wobbled. I've been rocked. It's hurt and this and that. But I've always had a really good poker face, and probably for the one opponent that I probably needed the best poker face, I didn't have it, and I showed her in my eyes and my facials that it hurt. And I'll never forget the look in her eyes, because it reminds me of what I'm like. It's just, I could just see it was kill. And I just remember, I don't even know if I said it, but I probably gave her another look, because it was like, oh, fuck. And that's literally what came to my head, was like, shit. And then she came with a barrage of kicks and punches, and she just went, went to town. And then I circled off probably 2 meters around to the cage and stopped again. And it was one of the things that I was saying this morning, was I just should have kept circling around. Like, the cage is a big cage, but just until I got my bearings and dealt with the fact that my nose was pouring out in blood. Just to recompose myself. But unfortunately, I did it. And then, that was the beginning of the end.
Now, obviously, she's been labelled the baddest woman on the planet for the better part of a decade.
Yep.
Now that you've actually spent some time with her in the ring, is she different from other fighters? Like, is there something you noticed, I guess, like, is she actually a harder hitter than most fighters, or is there something about her, or is it just the fact that we just look at her as one scary woman? Like, is there anything that surprised you in that fight?
No, not really. I think I knew that her punches were going to come hard. I feel over the years she's always been a super aggressive fighter, but I think over the years she's become more skilled. So, she was being somewhat patient and cautious with my hands. But yeah, she felt strong up against the cage. But I fought other fighters that I felt strong. She really just seeks out her prey. She's just got this dominance in there. But yeah, I think, I was in a really good mental space during the fight and stuff. But I think, as Leslie just said, who just fought her, I think the second time around, you sort of know what you're in for. I think after that first round, I was already ready just to get to work. But I guess it's all in hindsight. I'm hoping, my goal now is just to get some consecutive wins, good finishes, and get another shot before my my time's up in the cage.
And obviously, I think you posted a while back now, you've got another 4-fight deal. So you've definitely got another 4 fights. So we'll be seeing you for a little while. I was actually wondering when we were going to get a fight announcement, because as I said, you posted that 4-fight deal. You're obviously over in the States at the moment, and I was like, come on, surely we've got something coming soon. But the last thing I'll ask you about that fight, and not so much about that fight, but afterwards, you also posted. I always like to see how fighters handle their losses as well as their wins, right? It's always easy. It's always easy to post when you've got the win, because obviously you're on cloud 9. You've got all the endorphins and everything, and you feel like the night's gone really, really well. But a lot of fighters shy away from their losses. Some try to deny their losses. I think you handled it really, really well. And the one thing that really showed was when you posted the video. I don't know who, I think it was a Bellator video or something. And it was the aftermath, right? And it was just, obviously Dee was in the video, and how you guys handled it. Was there any consideration of putting that out, or was it important for you to put that out, obviously for your fans and supporters to see that side of it?
Well, at the time I didn't even realize that there was a camera on us. Obviously, in that moment, I'm I have never shied away from crying inside that Bellator cage. Girls, I cry when I win and I cry when I lose. I'm an emotional sort of person, but no, I think especially in this world, today's world of social media, and all the fakeness and falseness and this and that, it's super important for people just to be real. And I think there's obviously, the anger, like the Aussie girl Angerfist, the name probably puts a lot of people off, thinking that I'm, somewhat superhuman, but I'm the most human, normal person that goes through all the emotions. And yeah, that fight meant a lot to me. I had my family, myself, my teammates, my coaches, my friends, we all sacrificed so much for that fight, and everyone was backing me. I had, not that I had the pressure, but yeah, I had so much support, going into it, so much belief, from people going into it, and I believed in myself too. So yeah, it was upsetting for it to finish that way, finishing it without me showing how hard I'd worked, and yeah, so it was a very emotional time, but it was interesting because yeah, I let that cry out, and then I was okay. Obviously, my partner was there. He was he supported me through it, all of it. And yeah, I just, like I said just before, I decided to look at the things that I took from the fight. And, that one fight alone changed mine and my family's whole life, in what we're able to do now. So I worked hard, fought for 11 years, training hard, made a lot of sacrifices, and yeah, there's a lot more positives to take from that fight. So yeah, I wanted people to see that, and I didn't realize how much support and views and everything and feedback I'd get from it. But yeah, maybe I'll post more stuff of me crying.
Well, it's not that. It's like you say. It's about that real. And I talk in a lot of MMA rooms, and I always say I also find that fighters that find comfort in their losses are able to then bounce back a lot quicker, right? Than fighters who try to deny or find excuses to why they lost and things like that. And I always find it really, it's a real tricky kind of moment, because I get it, like the heartache and everything like that. But as I say, I always notice that the fighters that kind of try to put it under the carpet like it never happened, you see their next few fights and they kind of struggle to find their leg again, where I find that, fighters that carry that load and they're literally yep, it's happened, I'm gonna deal with it head on. They usually bounce back very quickly and usually to some sort of success. And obviously we'll see that with you, because obviously you haven't had a fight since. But I'm saying you're one of those fighters that was actually able to handle it quite well. And I think I always say fighting in particular is a perfect example of life. You've got to deal with the ups and the downs, and that's why I found that video so important. Maybe even more for the youth, just to see listen, this is the pinnacle of the sport. You've dealt with it, and then yeah, there was that heartache, but since then you've obviously been on this whole rebuild kind of momentum. And me personally, as I say, I think it's important to see that, but you don't see it very often from fighters. And that's why I was just I guess asking if it was important for you to deal with it, but also to let your, I guess, fans, supporters and everyone kind of see that side of the sport also, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And just to see the soft side of fighting too. I think everyone thinks, we get in the cage and we're super aggressive and yeah, we want to inflict pain on each other and that. But yeah, us fighters, we put a lot into being a fighter, and it's such a roller coaster of emotions. You're aggressive, we're all these emotions that just go through, go through us. And then yeah, at the end, I guess just the tears that come out.
And look, as you said, your partner was over there. He helped you deal with it. And then I guess you spent a little more time over there, and you did a little bit of sightseeing, a little bit of shopping as well. I seen you obviously with a big smile on your face, carrying a couple of Gucci bags and everything. So you obviously lived a little bit of a life while you were over there, which is all good. I always have to bring it back, and I know I asked you about this last time you were on as well. How did your kids handle it?
Yeah, so it was the first fight in like Kayla. I remember my very first MMA fight. She watched me get really badly armbarred, and poor thing was cage side, and she was only how old was she? 13 at the time. And yeah, her face at the end of it, she was a little bit horrified. She was like, "Oh, can you not do that again?" But yeah, throughout Kian's like remembering of my career, like since he's been old enough to know what I do on watch and stuff, I've only ever lost fights by like decision. So he hasn't ever seen anything like that. And like, throughout fight camps, I might get black eyes and this and that. But yeah, they were both sitting there, and from what I've like Samara and the girls who were with the kids while I was watching the fight, yeah, they weren't in a very good way. But I FaceTimed them straight after my fight and let them know I was okay, and they were okay with it. It's just, yeah, I guess especially for Kian, because he's my little man. I guess I think sometimes he just thinks I'm a little like invincible. And yeah, and to watch your mother go through that would have been a bit hard for him, but I'm okay.
And talk about Kian. Since since the last time we spoke, he's now what squad is he playing for? Like it's to do with obviously the Sydney soccer team, but obviously it's the junior league, or how does that all work?
Yeah, so he plays for Sydney FC, the under 13s youth league. Yeah, he's one of the goalkeepers for the team. So yeah, he got selected for that team last year, and he's playing his first season with them. And yeah, he's having a good season. He's playing well and he's learning a lot. And it's just that like next level up from, you've got your park soccer, and then you played SAP, and now he's at youth league. And if he keeps continuing to get selected, then this will be his pathway to eventually play for the A League. And if he gets overseas and into the international teams. But yeah, he's going good. It's keeping him busy, that's for sure. But no, he's going really good.
And you'd be happy for him to go overseas and play internationally, or would you prefer for him to stay at home?
It's entirely what's up to him. Like if he wants to go, for sure, I'd more than likely uproot my whole family over there with him. But in saying that, like Dion had opportunities to go overseas too, and he knows how it all works. So like he'd probably go over to like a boarding school type thing, depending on what age he was when he went over there. But I'm all for both of my kids, spreading their wings and doing whatever it is that they're passionate about. And for Kian, it's soccer, and wherever that takes him and wherever he wants to go, I'll never hold him back. I'll be 100% supportive. And the same thing with my daughter. She's moved out of home now, and she's living down in Wollongong, and down there for uni. And yeah, I'm supportive. And before she had the opportunity to go to Wollongong, she was actually moving to England and doing 6 months uni over there. And I was behind her 110% for that too, because life's worth living. Like you're meant to live, and you do what makes what you're passionate about. And yeah, as their mum, I'll support them, because that's pretty much what I do with my life.
I guess it's a little harder though, and especially in the whole landscape that we live in today. Before it was like if someone lived overseas, you could go visit them whenever you kind of had some holiday up your sleeve, and you book yourself a ticket and you're done. Where at the moment there's all these hurdles that we have to jump through, and we hear of families that haven't seen other family members now for the past year and a half. So, and I guess, look, if he was going to move overseas, it'll probably be after this pandemic is over. Well, you would hope so anyway.
Yeah. I think like I know other players that have been selected for international teams, like ones in Germany and this and that. But yeah, COVID's put a halt on that. So I think like he's only 13 at the moment, so I'd probably like to keep him just home just a little bit longer. But yeah, I guess he's a pretty independent kid that knows how to look after himself. So I'd have no worries with him, being able to go over there and be able to still look after himself. He's, like I said, a very independent kid that's capable.
Nice. So anyway, so you ended up coming back. Obviously back to the old stomping grounds, and I mean, you pretty much got on the horse straight away. I've seen that you're pretty much back at Ethos real quick. Obviously,
Yeah.
you spent
Well,
time. Sorry, what was that?
we were in quarantine, so we pretty much started training straight back there. Back in the hotel quarantine, Tyson had us working, and Dion was getting in on the pads and doing some pad work too. But yeah, we've been training nonstop.
And actually, speaking of that, how hard is it? Like, what kind of like accommodation did they give you guys for the quarantine? Because sometimes you hear, and I know when I've spoken to like Jamie Malarkey or whatever, he only had a real small room, and I know when Alex Volkanovski came, they kind of gave him a better situation. Like, what was the situation for you?
Yeah. We were in a pretty good, like, I mean, Josh and his team, Kulabau, with their first room. I remember seeing, I think it was like 3 of them in one room with 2 beds. Like, I don't know what that was about, but no, we were lucky. So Tyson, myself, and my partner, we were in like a two bedroom. So we had like a bedroom each with an ensuite, and then in the middle was a lounge room. So we had like a common area. So we could do our training sessions there, watch TV, play cards, but then we'd be able to go off into our own rooms.
Yeah, I believe Uno became pretty competitive, right? Was it Uno that you guys were playing?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done that many push-ups in my life. But yeah, Tyson and these rules, I think they're a bit bogus.
Hey, the coach always makes the rules, right?
Oh, I wasn't going to complain. He uprooted his life and came over and gave me a month of his life that he's not going to get back. So I'll be forever grateful for that. So if it takes a few hands of that he's going to win, then I'll give him that.
Nice. So yeah, then you came back, and as I said, like I know that you obviously, as I said, you went straight back to the gym. I mean, you took up your soccer mum duties as well. I've seen, like, obviously, because you're very active on social, so you kind of can keep up with a lot of that stuff. But the one thing, obviously, I reached out to you as well, and you made your commentating debut. Which was kind of fun because, like, as I said, like when I saw the opportunity arise, I was kind of like, you know what, I kind of think you'd be perfect for it. And I obviously reached out to you, and you got it done. What was that experience like for you? Like, how do you like the experience of just sitting, I guess, cage side and giving a little bit of, I don't even know, like, give a little bit of feedback and talk about some of the techniques that are like happening live?
Yeah. To tell you the truth, so that was the first time I've ever done commentating, and it's given me a whole new respect for what commentators do. Even now, when I'm watching UFC fights, I find myself paying attention to the commentators because, yeah, it's definitely a skill and an art. There's a fine line between wanting to talk, like talking up, but then not talking too much. Because sometimes you watch a few local fight shows and you're just thinking, God, I wish this commentator had stopped talking so I could just watch the fights. And then, yeah, just like also trying to be careful with what you say too, because that, these videos will then go home with the fighters. So you don't want to say anything that's like, might put off one of the fighters and be a bit annoyed by it, because that's a memory too. I know that sometimes I've watched some of my Bellator fights and the commentators will say certain things and I'm thinking, it gets me really angry. But thank God Jimmy was there. He was awesome because obviously, like, he's commentated a heap of fights now, so he sort of carried me. But I'd definitely like to get into more of it. And yeah, just a little bit more experience, and I'm sure that next time I'll be a bit better.
No, I mean, as I said, like, from the reports I've heard back, like a lot of people were really pleased to have you on board, and the broadcast went out really well. I will have to say though, was that your first experience as well with the Wimp to Warrior program?
Yes, yeah. I've been ringside for a lot of corporate boxing events and the similar sorts of things. Fighters. Individuals training over a period of time and then having their first boxing fight. But that's the first time I've actually been to a Wimp to Warrior. So I was absolutely amazed at some of the skills that some of the people had, because it's one thing to go into a boxing fight and you're boxing, you're only throwing punches, but MMA is just like levels. You've got kicks, you've got takedowns. Yeah, it's insane. So, but it was really cool just to see people making, ticking off those bucket lists and making memories. Because a lot of people, a lot of my coaches and teammates will say too, everyone needs to have a fight just to see what they're capable of doing it, and just to show them their real self. Like there's nothing more real than those moments when you're about to go into battle, and everyone should feel that at some point in their life. So it's cool, yeah. And you never forget your first fight. And those people, I don't know how many of them might continue on and have another fight, but yeah, it's a really cool accomplishment.
Well, it's kind of crazy because, I mean, that's what it kind of really is, like, to a lot of people, is that bucket list. But some of them have gone on, like, I know DJ went on to actually fight for, I forgot what promotion it was, but for a title. And, there's been a few. I know Emma, who now trains out with Brian Ebersol and stuff, like, she's obviously fighting on all the XFC cards. So some of them have actually used the platform to springboard into an actual kind of fighting journey, where others it is more or less a bucket list. But I do agree with you that everyone should at least have a fight, or not even, I mean, look, if the fight isn't for you, I think everyone should have a fight camp in their life at least, right? Like if I get what you're saying, because I know some people, they just can't take that final plunge for whatever reason. And sometimes it's not even like themselves. It could be like a medical reason that they can't get cleared and they can't fight. But I think the journey to get to that fight is just as valid, because as you would know, as you go through fight camp, there is so many ups and downs and roundabouts, and it's a major emotional, physical, mental, everything loaded into one, where, as I always tell people, one day you come out of training and you think you could face the world. You kind of go like, right now you put anyone in front of me, even the world champ, and I'll take him. And then the very next day you'll come out of there and you just not getting it right. And once again, you feel like crying, right? Like, cause you're like, what is it that I'm not doing right? And then you bounce back 2-3 days later only to realize that, you were having a moment. And I think that's important because, as I was saying to you at the very beginning, it is a lesson in life that, whether you're in business or whatever, you're always going to have those ups and downs. And it's about learning how to deal with that. And that's why once again, that's what draws me to mixed martial arts anyway, is how I can like relate that back to everyday life. And that's what I find the beauty of the sport really is. But yeah, I find that, I think everyone really should have, as I say, at least a fight camp. And if they can make it over and take that first fight. And look, I mean, you saw it, they do look after the guys where, I mean, look, once again, as you said before, you might end up with, bleeding nose or a bit of a black eye or whatever. But generally speaking, the way they run those events, it's like the risk of you getting seriously hurt is probably pretty minimal.
100%. You can walk into a door and hit your head harder than the damage that you're going to cop in like one of those fights. You might have a couple of, a bit of a sore shin or, bump in the head. But yeah, for the most part, what you gain from something like Wimp to Warrior far exceeds those few little bumps and bruises that you'll get.
Beautiful, beautiful. So anyway, let's talk more about current stuff now. So obviously, you decided to pack your bags, and I remember at the time when you said I'm going, I was like hoping to get you into the studio just before you left, but it was kind of like, I'm leaving on Sunday, and I was like, well, we've missed that boat.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, what was your reasoning about? Because I know at the time you said I'm going over there until I get a fight. Basically, that was the mentality. Yep. So at the time, you there was no kind of rumors of a fight or anything yet. It was just you kind of went, no, this is what I'm doing, and you kind of packed your bag, you booked your ticket, and here you are. You're halfway across the world now. But what was the kind of mentality and reasoning behind that?
I've been trying to get matched since the beginning of the year, like on the April cards, and it didn't work out for different reasons. But the reason I did come over here was COVID had made it really hard for my coaches back at home to be able to come over with me. Like Tyson wasn't able to come over with me this fight camp. He's making his way back to the cage, which will hopefully be later on in the year, I think. And he's also got a little one that's on the way, that's due in August. So yeah, it's a big commitment. Like I said, he gave up a month of his time last year, so he's not in a position to be able to do that this time. Alex and Joe just finished their filming for the Tough series. So yeah, there's just my coaches back at home weren't able to come over with me, and I was over here at Jacksons Wink early last year, planning to do my Cris Cyborg fight camp here, but wasn't able to because of COVID. And we just thought, Coach Wink has been over for my last three. He's cornered my last three fights with me. He's flown from here over to wherever it is that I fought at the time. So I wanted to get some solid work in with him. When I first flew over here, I think I was looking at possibly fighting June 11th. We didn't have an official contract, but I thought, well, I may as well just get over there and start training. And I think it was going to give me a month here, which would have been a really short camp because it would have only been 3 weeks worth of training. And it's taken me 2 weeks to get used to the altitude alone. So, but then when I got here, the date was moved to June 25th, and that gave me a little bit longer, so I was happy with that. But we've actually got a new date now, which I just realized I'm not supposed to say anything, but it's going to give me a full camp here. And yeah, so it worked out in the end. I'll get a full camp here. I'll get the best training partners. I'll be able to work properly, like face to face with my sports psychologist, and literally live and breathe a proper fight camp. In the 12 years that I've been fighting, I've juggled work, coaching, my kids, running a household, just everything. And literally over here at the moment, I'm training, eating, sleeping, and on the weekends doing some sightseeing. But yeah, I'm literally a complete professional fighter. I don't know what to do with myself, but I definitely am enjoying it.
And speak of weekends, the weekend that's just passed, obviously this is why I got the flag up. Memorial Weekend. Did you get anything up? Did you do anything for Memorial Weekend?
No. Like there was the public holiday here. I still trained yesterday, but yeah, I mean, back at home for Anzac Day, we get up and do the dawn service and everything like that. But no, it was very quiet here in New Mexico. Not, obviously everyone pays their respects to the military and past and present and everything like that. But yeah, for the most part, I think just kind of where I am in New Mexico, like it's somewhat quiet. There wasn't parades or anything like that.
Yeah, nice. Now, when you said that Coach Wink coached you for your last three fights, obviously so did Tyson, right? So, like, you would have your camps here. How does that work? Do you know, like, are they always in constant contact with each other, or how does that kind of dynamics work?
Well, Coach Wings, so like I said, he's been in the corner with my last three fights, but I've gone over. So I had James Tahuna in my corner for two of the fights, and then Tyson for the last one with Cris, and each one coach has been there. But he's just super respectful. Even like I was doing pad work with him yesterday, and he said, have you sent Tyson that video of your opponent? I'd like to get his feedback on what he thinks, like what he sees. And it always just spins me out the amount of respect that he's got for other coaches and other people in general, because I'm just like, this guy's like one of the best coaches in the world, like, but yet he still wants to bounce off other people just to get a second opinion, or and I guess it just pays respect to them as being my coaches as well. So he's not just taking over. But yeah, no, we will be there at fight week. He doesn't usually fly in until closer to the fight itself, so he's not there the whole week. But I'll just do my preparations with my coach, and he's in the change room, and he'll give a few little pointers here and there, warm me up on the pads or something. But and then just obviously bounce off my coaches that are there, so that they work together as a team rather than against each other.
Well, and I guess, even as you said, he's one of the most respected coaches as well. But I guess the benefit that your coaches have is that they probably know you better, right? So like
Yeah.
he might have all the knowledge in the world when it comes to martial arts, but they have all the knowledge in the world when it comes to Arlene, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And yeah, my coaches definitely know me. And that's another reason why I'm here now, so that he can like he can get to know me properly too. Like he's been more than accommodating, all the times that I've been here. This time last year I was here and it was when the pandemic had just kicked off, so I was here. And yeah, he even like this time now, I've just moved into one of the apartments here at the dorms from where I was staying, because he didn't like where I was up there, because he didn't feel like it was the safest part of Albuquerque for me, even though I felt safe. But yeah, he's always looking after me. I mean, making sure that I'm comfortable and I feel like I'm at home here. Yeah, and I'm just glad that I'm here, like able to do a proper camp and really learn everything, rather than just picking up a few things quickly before on the fly.
And let me ask you this: when the fight comes, are your coaches, or is it just going to be him now, or is D and either Tahuna or Tyson going to fly over, or is it just going to be a Coach Wink now?
As in moving forward after this fight camp, or just for this next fight?
No, so I'm saying obviously you're doing the fight camp right now at
Yeah.
Jacksons Wink, but like when the fight comes, who's going to be in your corner for that fight? Like I'm saying, like will obviously you're spending the 2 months over there right now, but like when the fight comes, will D and Tahuna or Tyson wander over like the week of the fight or something, or is this strictly going to be a Jackson Wink kind of camp and corner?
Yeah, so originally it was just going to be a Jackson corner, because Dion had his soccer commitments, and like I said before, Tyson and Jamie and everyone had their own like stuff at home. Like it's the big thing is the 2 weeks quarantine when we get home. That's so yeah, a 1 week fight trip turns into at least 3 weeks. And then one of the biggest things was last time after the fight, because flights aren't returning as often, like every day, to Australia, we had to spend I think 4 days after it. So yeah, it turned into being a month, which is a big thing for someone to who's working back at home or has got family or running a gym or this and that. So but yeah, this time with my new date that's been given, Dion will be able to fly over. So I've actually just we're just organising his travel exemption now, and yeah, but it'll just be the coaches here at Jacksons, and then yeah, Dion in my corner.
Nice, nice. And just looking back at the last time you went over and this time that you went over dealing with exemptions and stuff like that, has much changed? Is it the same? Has it become easier? Like what are the differences? And even to the point, I guess, on how they're handling now of the pandemic, because I see like a lot of things, like I guess America is starting to really reopen now. I've got friends in Vegas and stuff, and it looks like the nightclubs are starting to open again and things like that. Not that I'm saying you're out clubbing or anything, so you wouldn't be able to tell us that. But like from your opinion, can you see any sort of changes between last time you went over and this time?
The biggest thing was like leaving Australia. I actually had to get a COVID test this time before boarding the plane. I didn't have to do that last time, but for the most part, no, it's kind of been the same. Like obviously, we were here for the Cyborg fight, and we were in New York City, but restaurants I think were at like a 25, maybe 50% capacity. But yeah, for the most part, like people are still out and about. So it'd be really interesting to see it now 6 months on if it's even busier again. But here in Albuquerque, it's much the same. Like I mean, it's apart from you just have to put a mask on before you go into shops, but everyone's just going about their day as per normal. And yeah, it's one of the things that I do sit back and think like how lucky I am. I'm allowed to travel over here again. So this will be the third time I've been to America during the pandemic. I'm over here for a couple of months now. I'm training and doing all that, but I'm also making the most of my weekends and doing a little bit of sightseeing and enjoying the warm weather here and missing the winter time back in Australia.
That's why you're in a singlet and I'm in a hoodie, right? Like it is. I mean, look, we've still had some beautiful days. It's been getting, during the day up to like 18, 19 degrees. But yeah, like in the mornings right now in Sydney, it's 11, 12, 13 degrees. So you wake up kind of frosty and then, it gets a little warm during the day. But specifically on your camp now, and only because obviously, once again, I've been keeping up to date with your socials, is like, the last camp you said you couldn't have had better sparring partners because you had the UFC champ. But right now you're obviously got some pretty good sparring partners as well, right? Like, yeah, who are you mingling with right now, and yeah, how's that side of camp going?
Yeah, well, I'm keeping some pretty cool company over here, that's for sure. Yeah, so like the reason I came to Jackson's the first time back in 2016 was because of Holly. She'd only just beat Ronda at that stage, so yeah, I'm back over here training like with the coaches, but yeah, training with Holly. Clarissa Shields is here training for her PFL debut, not next weekend, the weekend after. So she's in her final week here. So yeah, she's peaking. So she's turned me into a wrestler.
Let me
For
ask you on
sure.
that though. Like, I mean, obviously with Clarissa, we know she's got hands. But the debate is always about like, can MMA guys transfer across to boxing, or boxing people transfer to MMA? How is her development looking right now? Like, obviously now that you've been able to share some rounds with her, like the hands aren't the question, but like, yeah, how do you see her as a mixed martial artist?
Well, she's come to the perfect gym. I mean, Holly was a boxer that transitioned over. I was a boxer that transitioned over. One of the mistakes I probably made earlier in my career was that I didn't, I wanted to stay that boxer in the MMA cage. I didn't become a true martial artist. But I feel like she's really taken it on board. She's a fast learner too, and she's a respectable person too. If anyone gives her advice, she's there to listen, and takes it on board and is appreciative too. Even in the few weeks, so like this is the third week that I've been training here with her now, and every week she's just improving, and you can see that from a session she'll go, especially the sparring session, she must go back and really dissect it, because then she comes into the next one and she's like, all right, this. So and it's interesting listening to some of the things she says, because I remember going through that myself in my career. So and it's probably why, yeah, she does respect what we say, because we've been there and we've done that. But yeah, she's a true athlete, and you can see why she is the goat of boxing, because like she's just got that champion mentality. Like, it's been really cool to just be around her, and just sort of seeing what she's like. It's the first time that I've met her, but yeah, she's just a normal chick like us. She's cool, and just sharing some of her stories and stuff. But yeah, get her in that cage, and she's 100% switched on, and I'm super excited for her. Like, she's a massive fight for a debut. Like, she's having a main event fight on PFL, like for a debut MMA fight. Like, it's massive.
And once again, it's pretty good to have her as company when she brings in her what was it, her masseuse or physiotherapist that you took advantage of as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, her masseuse from Miami, she flew her in, so I was like, yes, please. And she was lovely. Yeah, lovely lady.
Nice. And so what's going on with Holly now as well? Has she got a fight lined up, or where's she at the moment?
Well, she's just come back. Like, she had surgery recently, so she's just getting back into. It's funny. I listened to her. Like, she's like just getting back into things, and she's just getting back into shape. I step inside the cage with her, and I'm thinking, God, I wish I was
Hang
like that
on,
when I'm
I want
out
to
of
stop you
shape.
there. Getting into shape. Yep, the last photo you
Yeah,
posted of your group, she's still there rocking the six pack. What are you talking about getting into shape?
I know. um, yeah, she cracks me up, and I'm just like, damn, you want to see what? You should see my out of shape. But it's really cool. Like I love spending time with Holly. Last year was really cool when I was over here, because I got to spend a bit more one-on-one time with her, and we've just picked up like picked off where we left when I was over here now. We kept in contact all last year and that as well. So, but you know, it's cool. Like we were talking in the car the other day, like I'm 38 now and she turns 40 this year, and like it's cool what we're still doing at our age. You know, not only are we just females in like a male dominant sport, but like for in general, like we're females that are older and still excelling at the level that we are. You know, keeping up with these young kids, and yeah, we're still at the top of our sports and still have a lot to offer. So I like that I can bounce off her with that, because you know sometimes, especially when I'm a bit sore and my body's telling me that it's getting old, like I like that I could just bounce off her and we're like, yeah, we are old, but you know, you hear these young kids and they're like, oh, I'm sore and this and that. I'm thinking, you're 20 years old. You wait.
But do you seriously still believe that it's a male-dominated sport? Because, I mean, I think that the women bring just as much hype now as the guys do. I mean, there's obviously more guy athletes because there's more divisions, but do you still see it as a male-dominated sport? Because as I say, like when you look at like even like the main events these days, like you have a lot of them with the women like headlining the cards and stuff like that. So yeah, like you know what I mean? Like or do you think that the planes have kind of evened out?
Oh, I wouldn't say evened out, but it's good now. Like even in the like I've been boxing now for like fighting in general for 12 years, doing MMA for 7. Like, you know, over the course of the years, I've noticed that like, you know, I'm not the only female on the mats. Yeah, in any class that you go to now, there's, you know, at least a couple of females, you know, whether it's a newbie that's coming off the street that's wanting to have a go, or like, you know, even my girl gang back at home. You know, there's a crew of us. So, you know, when I first started fighting, there wasn't. I was literally the only girl, and my training partners were, you know, guys. So it's cool. Like, and even coming over here now, like the photo that I posted this morning, we were still missing a couple of the females. They'd already gone off for showers because we'd sitting there gas bagging after it. But, and it's cool because there's also girls my weight. So it's not only, you know, there's girls, but like there's girls in my division. Like we've got, this morning there was Holly and Clarissa, and there's, Kayla and Ali. Like we're all our weight division, in my weight division. So it's cool. And they're high level fighters. So yeah, perfect. It's like it's good from the female point of view, because you can do so much training with a guy, but in the end they always have guy strength. So, you know, I thought going into my Cyborg fight, like how cool I'm, you know, training with Ali, so Colby, the boys, all down in Wollongong, but they were always like handing it to me, but so I could never really gauge like actually how good I'm going from that female strength. So it's good now to be here with other girls and yeah, seeing where I'm at.
Nice. And I have to ask you, because I don't know what the dynamics is over there. Have you seen John Jones over there?
Yeah. He was here the other.
How big is he now? Like, and that's why I want to know, like, has he really been stacking on it? Like, because obviously we see little posts from him as well, but like seeing him in the flesh, can you see the weight difference now? Is he big?
Yeah, he's solid. Like yeah, so even from like, it was funny because I think so I saw him in 2016, but he wasn't training at that time, so he came in. I'm not sure, but he had like a button-up shirt or something. But he was just tall and like thin. And then when I saw him the other day, he was solid. And it was cool even just talking to him, just about a few things with fighting and stuff. But yeah, I was like, damn, we're not going to see you in the cage this year. And he's like, So hopefully this manager of his can work some stuff out, because yeah, we all want to watch him fight.
Well, everyone wants to see that fight. It's a complicated situation, really, right? It's
Yeah.
I really don't know if they'll end up making a deal, because I know, you know, from the other end, I know they can be pretty stubborn too when it comes to that. They'll always say, you know, it's the same when they talk about like, what if this superstar retires? And it's like, well, the next one will arise, and that's kind of the power that they have in their hand. Where like John Jones is such a big name, but in their books, they're like, well, if he leaves, the next John Jones is around the corner at some point, right? And it's a sad kind of reality.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And it goes with a lot of things in life too. Like, that's why you've got to make the most of the opportunities that you get, because yeah, you are just another number. And when you're like finished and gone, and like the next person's going to come through. So that's why I'll make the most of what I can do now in my situation, because the next generations coming through too are going to be so much better.
Now, last with the Holly thing as well is like, whose idea? Like, because one day you're posting that you're driving on the wrong side of the road and you couldn't decide whether it was the left, the right, the steering wheel was the left or the right, and then the next moment you're riding scooters around like during the night. Whose brainwave idea was that?
Well, we just literally finished doing a drive around of all the Breaking Bad movie. Like, so I'd only seen Jesse's house the last time I was here, because it's down in Old Town. Jesse Pinkman's house. Have you seen Breaking Bad?
I've maybe seen one episode. It's the one series that I haven't like, and I did see the house that you posted. Like, so I remember that, but like,
Yep.
yeah, when it comes to TV. It's hard for me to get into like series, and usually when I get into them, it's like when they're 8 series in, and then I look at it and I'm like, I've just got way too much catching up to do. So when it comes to TV series, I'm real bad.
Yeah, well, it was interesting because Dion had literally just finished rewatching it, so I remember sort of like peeking my head in and seeing a couple of episodes here and there. But she took me to see like the chicken shop, the car wash, like one of the places that they had like a drug deal in the show. What else? Oh, the car yard. There was a few different things. It was really cool to see because she was bringing up on a phone like the scene in the like the series. And then we were like, oh yeah, this is like, you can kind of like picture like the angle that it was in, but obviously it looks different because it's it's like an actual car yard or an actual chicken shop or whatever. But so we just finished that, and then we got back to her place, and she's like, oh, I can take you up to the tram line. It's really pretty to see like all the lights of Albuquerque. And then she's like, oh, do you want to ride the scooters? And I'm like, yeah. So we jumped on the scooters and like rode up there. It was freezing meanwhile because it actually rained yesterday. So we had the big ski jackets on and that. And when I was riding down the hill, because I took the video of like the lookout, but then I'm like, oh, it'd be cool to like when I'm riding down to get a video. So I'm on the scooter and I've got gloves on. I had to take the glove off while still riding and put that under my leg. And then I had to unzip my jacket, grab my phone out. And then I was trying to record, but then my right hand is the one that accelerates. So it just, And then as I'm recording, then down further, Holly had stopped. So then I'm trying to put my phone down and then I'm trying to brake and but no one got hurt.
So let me ask you, do you ride scooters and bikes back here?
So the last time I rode a scooter was when Dion and I took the kids to Bali in 2016. And if he's ever on your show, he'll have a really funny story to tell about apparently a pylon I left behind me in my wake that I was unaware of because I took a corner really wide and the scooters were turning, and then I was just riding off into like the sunset blissfully unaware that I'd caused like a massive, not pylon, but like traffic that had just stopped or whatever because I did what I did. But I ride motorbikes too. So when Dion got he's got a Harley at home and he got his bike license and I went and got it with him, my L's, but I actually let it expire. I thought it was like a car license where, if you had your L's, you just stay on your L's for however long until you eventually get your P's. But with your bike license, you've got 12 months to actually get your P's. And if you don't, then you've got to reset the L's, which is like a 2-day course. So I don't have my bike license, but I do know how to ride motorbikes.
Nice. No, I got my bike license. I've got a bike. So no, the reason I ask is because, as I said, you go from this confusion of what side of the road, and then suddenly you're taking videos while you're riding, and I'm like, how confident are you riding on 2 wheels? Like to even pull that off for a second, right? But speaking of that, you said if D ever comes onto the show, I'll just throw it out there right now. If you can make that happen, let's do it. Like I'd be happy to have him on at some point. So you're my contact there. So I'll just throw that out there. But listen, look, we'll start to wind things up a little bit. Obviously, you did post today that you've got a fight contract.
Yep.
I'm getting the kind of sense that you're not allowed to mention too much about it. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, I'm not allowed to mention anything about it yet. Just like obviously it's at Mohegan Sun, so I can tell you that it's in Connecticut. Um, but yeah, so I'll have a good fight camp here, the right length of fight camp, and I'm super excited about my opponent. I think it'll be a great opponent for me. And without going into detail, like props to this opponent too, because I know that Bellator have had some difficulty trying to lock in an opponent. That's why there's been so much back and forward because, you know, certain fighters not wanting to take fights or there's been injuries. And then, yeah, it's a bit of a strange series of events, really, without going into detail, I guess. But I just remember when I was an up and comer from the division and I looked at the numbers 1 and 2, and they were at the time Marloes Coonan and Julia Budd, and they were the girls that I was wanting to fight. So I don't know why me at number 2 would not be someone that any of these girls would be wanting to fight.
Nice, nice. So you obviously know your opponent. Do you know her well, and do you like the fight from your perspective?
To be fair, after fighting Cris Cyborg, does it really matter who the opponent is? Like, if you prepare for a fight with her, then you're prepared to fight anyone after that. That's my mentality. So, you know, yeah, I look at what I was like after my last loss, and I was a very, very dangerous fighter. And that's the mentality that I feel now. I just want to get back in that cage and rip someone apart. So I feel sorry for the person, but I am excited. It's a good opponent. Yeah, I'm grateful that she's agreed to a fight with me. So I will give her a lot of what's the word? Like props after it. I will thank her because yeah, she's given me the opportunity to be able to dance under the bright lights very soon.
And you can't even give us the date.
No, because I literally just before your message came through, like about me.
I know. I saw your
post.
post. That's what I'm saying. Like, I literally you posting. You're like, fight announcement soon. I'm like, perfect.
Yeah, well, I reworded what I was writing because I'd literally only just read the fine details of the contract. I was like, I guess I better not say anything because I was about to put the date. So I was like, oops. But I don't know. I don't think Bellator would be too angry because like I'm one of their favorites. I'm like one of their yeah, I've been there since the beginning pretty much in the girls division.
And you're the Aussie. They love Aussies, right?
Yep.
At the end of the day, they love Aussies.
Apparently I'm always smiling. Coach Wink was saying to me today, and it was so used to that too, like they're like Angerfist, and I put the story up because he's like, you should be smiley fist, and he even says, he's like, you're always smiling. I'm like, I'm happy to be here. I got a lot to smile about.
I 100% agree with that. But look, as we wind up, as always, I try to, since we can't talk about your fight, we'll talk about a couple of other fights, and I just want to get your kind of fighter predictions. Obviously, before you spoke about that, Alex just got done filming the Tough series.
Yeah, that is.
He's obviously going to face. Yeah, he's obviously going to, well, not here it is, I think, in another 4 hours or 5 hours. So we're a little delayed. It's like 7:30. And the worst thing about it is it's being aired at 7:30, and tonight is the first State of Origin as well. So they've really like mucked that up a little bit that they've got it at the same time. So I think there'll be a little bit of picture-in-picture going on. But yeah, so he's obviously fighting, he's fighting Brian Ortega. How do you see that fight? Who do you like in that fight? How do you see it play out?
Well, I'm gonna not. How can I go against Alex? Like, yeah, and you know what? Like, if I wasn't a big enough fan of his before I started training down there with them, like now I'm just, yeah, like I just love his style, and I actually even said it the other day. If I was to mirror anyone's style, if I could, yeah, it would be his. He just, well, his never-ending battery. Like his gas tank just is phenomenal. But his transitions, from the fact he's like punching to kicking to shooting to and then he's just go. Like, if he gets into a bad position, he doesn't accept it, and he's working straight away. I'd like to be able to be like that. So yeah, obviously Alex. I can't wait just to watch. The tough series and see what it's like between them, because obviously that will add to whatever happens when they actually fight each other. I think, like, if there were hostilities or whatever was said, if they either of them got under each other's skin or whatever. But Alex has had big enough fights to not really let any of that worry him, I don't think, anyway.
Yeah, and I think they did get a little under the skin, because if you watch the launch party, they had a few little words, and obviously when Alex was on Rogan, he kind of said like he's had enough of Brian. So I think something, obviously, I don't know, once again, he could be selling the whole show, but I think, but it's hard when you're stuck in the house with someone for so long. You get cabin fever anyway. So even if you generally like someone, after a while, and I guess that's even with this pandemic, when you hear about how many relationships went bust because they were like literally locked into one household. And look, if you've got a big enough household where you've got different rooms to go into, that's fine. But if you're in like a 1-bedroom unit, it became very difficult for a little while.
I was just thinking about quarantine situation with Dion. I joked and I was like, well, at the end of the 2 weeks quarantine, I'll either be pregnant or we'll be divorced. And there was a few times there, not like we don't argue, but there was like, we just had enough of each other by the second week, and Tyson was our little like mediator, so it was like, all right, you boys off you go, like take him for a bit or whatever. So yeah, you can't be on top, like living on top of each other, that's for sure.
Well, see, that's the problem. It's like, Tyson, take him for a bit. And he's like, where am I to take him? We're stuck in the same room. Like, I guess that's where Uno came in handy. But look, another fight that's coming up, I think in 2 weeks now, is Izzy's title defense against Marvin. How do you see that fight? Who do you like?
Izzy. Like until he faces Rob again, like it's just, I don't see him. I think a 2 coming off a loss, coming back down to his weight division, I just know what losses do to me. And well, that was his first loss. He's going to come back and he's going to want to put on a display of ass whooping. Just, like coming off his first loss. It's a big thing. So
nice. And I assume, I don't know if he's a training partner of yours, but I know he's definitely another Team Ethos partner. Tai Tuivasa is taking on Greg Hardy. I know who you're going to pick, obviously, because of the relationship there, but how do you see that fight go out?
Well, I'm excited for that. I think Tai looked awesome in his last fight. Just showed a different side of him with a bit more patience and his feints and setting up stuff. So it's a cool fight. It's probably going to be one of his harder fights against Greg. Not mainly, I think, because maybe Greg's fitness, but I think Ty's just going to have way too much power for him, with those hands. So yeah, I'm excited for it. It's always exciting to see Tai in the cage. So hopefully a pretty cool knockout.
Nice. And then I'll get 2 more from you, which I don't even know what to classify this. We'll classify boxing just for the sake of it. And I'll just get I'll get your opinion on it, because obviously you do have the boxing background as well. Yeah. The Paul brothers, right? They're making a lot of noise. Obviously now the first one I'll get you on is you've got Floyd Money Mayweather coming out, and he's fighting Logan Paul. What do you think? What's that?
What's the weight difference?
See, that's what I don't know. It's the same as the last Jake.
It looks like he's a lot bigger.
Well, the same with the Jake and Ben Askren fight. Like, Jake was obviously a lot bigger. So I don't know. That's the one thing that's never made sense to me, is how they can even commission those fights. Like, I know they'll throw it out as an exhibition match or something like that, but it's just like, to me, it's like 2 people in different weight classes fighting. So I don't actually know how it all works.
I mean, looking at them, they're obviously putting in the work. They look like they're pretty like fit boys, as in, well, okay, muscularly fit. I don't know about like fit, but yeah, I don't really have like, if it brings light to the sport, like good on them for being able to use their star power to put on these big exhibition fights and draw a bit of like attention, a bit more attention. Like, yeah, good on them, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Like, when was Floyd's last fight? That was a while
Conor
ago, wasn't
McGregor.
it?
It was the McGregor fight. Oh
Yeah.
no, actually, I think
Yeah.
the he had that fight against that Japanese kid in Ryzen like afterwards as well.
Oh, yeah. Yes. And that's what made him. Yeah. Like, you got to be able to hit Floyd first. Like, his defense is impeccable. Like, yeah, you can like have a knockout punch, but you got to be able to land it first. So it just depends on how serious. God, Floyd's been looking really, really old in his like press work lately. Like, it's like, yeah, maybe, I don't know. And as for, was it Woodley and the other poor brother? Yeah, that's an interesting one too. Like, hopefully he can like just land a punch and stick up for the MMA community.
Do you see that though? Like, or do you think like these fights are seriously being handpicked at the right moments right now?
Oh, obviously there's a little bit behind it. I don't know how it all works, but like I said, good on them. Like, if I was in that position and can use my, what is it? What are they? YouTube famous? It's on Instagram, is it? They're YouTubers.
I've heard
Like,
YouTubers, I've heard bloggers, I've heard I don't know. I actually don't know what they do. And I believe we have just lost connection. How about that? Well, we'll give it one quick second. I mean, to be honest with you, that's where we were going to end it anyway, really. I mean, it would have been nice to be able to say goodbye and all that. I don't know what's happened there. I would say either the internet's cut out or the battery of the phone has died out, since these conversations always run a little longer. But look, I mean, as I said, Arlene's been a past guest of the podcast. So, I mean, you know, everyone knows obviously where they can go hit her up on the socials. She is very active on the socials. I do recommend, you know, people give her a follow. She definitely knows how to hold herself really, really well. I have a lot of respect for her, and I wish we could have got you know, a little bit of fight news, but I also understand when you're under contract, you can't obviously just jump on the boat and let out information if it's in your contract. So anyway, look, at the end of the day, that's it. As I said, I would have liked to have said goodbye. I appreciate the time that Arlene gives this podcast each and every time. And apart from that, I hope everyone has a good week and stay blessed. I'm a one.